What if I told you that a move is happening right now in Minnesota that could shake the entire foundation of the NFL? I'm not talking about a rumor. I'm not talking about speculation. I'm talking about something real, something big. The Minnesota Vikings are cooking up a trade so bold, so unexpected that it could completely redefine the direction of this franchise and catch the entire league off guard. I'm Victor, and if you're a true Vikings fan or just a football fanatic who loves the thrill of breaking news, you're going to want to buckle up for this one. But before we dive into the details, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single update. Because trust me, what's coming next? You'll want to be the first to know, so let's get into it. Today we gotta talk about a name that's starting to heat up in the trade rumor mill, Greg Newsome 2. That's right, the former first-round cornerback from the Cleveland Browns could be on the move, and the Minnesota Vikings might just be the perfect landing spot. But is he worth it? Should Kwesi pick up the phone and call Cleveland? Is this the CB2 we've been looking for next to Byron Murphy? So here's the deal, Greg Newsome 2. Former first-round pick, 25 years old, big upside. And very importantly, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah was in Cleveland's front office when the Browns drafted this guy 26th overall in 2021. That's a connection you can't ignore. Now, according to Cody Benjamin from CBS Sports, the Vikings could and should make a move here. And honestly, I agree. We beefed up the trenches this offseason. Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill are healthy, and we added some fire on the defensive line. But one area that still feels shaky, one spot that could straight up cost us games, is the cornerback room. And no disrespect, but if the season started tomorrow, who's our CB2? Isaiah Rodgers, Jeff Okudah, Mekhi Blackmon on one leg. That's not going to cut it in a division with Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Moore, and now Romeo Doubs catching a bombs from Jordan Love. Now here's why I really like the fit with Greg Newsome. Brian Flores loves aggressive, versatile DBs who can thrive in both press man and zone-heavy concepts. And that's exactly what Newsome brings. He's not just a boundary guy. He can line up in the slot. He's physical at the line of scrimmage, mirrors routes really well, and he closes passing windows like a pro. He's the kind of corner who makes QBs think twice. And let's be real, we haven't had enough of that since the peak Xavier Rhodes era. Flores has done miracles with less talent before. Imagine what he could do with a motivated, athletic 25-year-old corner who's trying to prove himself heading into a contract year. Let's look at what Newsome's done so far. 2021, rookie year. 12 games, 11 starts, 37 tackles, 9 pass breakups. Solid foundation. 2022, 42 tackles, 6 pass breakups, even got in there for half a sack. 2023, career year, 49 tackles, 14 passes defended, 2 interceptions, one of them a pick 6. 2024, bit of a down year, dealt with some hamstring issues, played 13 games, but started only 3, still managed 27 tackles, 5 pass breakups, and a pick. That 2023 tape though, that's what you build on. And remember, he's only 25. This isn't a Patrick Peterson situation where you're hoping for a last dance. This is a player entering his prime. You might be asking, yeah, but what about the money, Victor? Well, Newsome's 2025 cap hit is $13.4 million. But guess what? We've got $23.5 million in cap space right now. We can swing it, and for a plug-and-play starter at a premium position, that's a bargain. Kwesi's built this roster smart. If we're serious about making a playoff run and not wasting the final cheap year of JJ McCarthy's rookie deal, this is the kind of move that makes sense right now. Let's just be honest with ourselves for a second. Byron Murphy, he's our CB1, no debate. Isaiah Rodgers, intriguing upside, but he hasn't started consistently since his Indy days. Jeff Okudah, talented, but he's bounced around. Injuries, inconsistency. Mekhi Blackmon? Love the potential, but he's coming off a torn ACL. You can't build a secondary off hope and maybes. Not in today's NFL, and especially not when we're going up against elite WRs 6 times a year just in our division. Greg Newsome doesn't just upgrade the room, he stabilizes it. Look, this just makes too much sense. Familiarity with Kwesi. Scheme fit with Flores. Age, upside, contract, it all lines up. It's rare that a young, proven, still developing CB hits the market, and when they do, you jump. You don't wait until week 5 when we're giving up 280 passing yards to Jordan Love, wondering what went wrong. Make the move. Bring Newsome to Minnesota. Let's build a secondary that can go toe-to-toe with the best in the NFC. But hey, that's just my take. What do you think, Vikings Nation? Would you give up draft capital for Greg Newsome too? Or should we stick with what we've got? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be in there reading everything, debating with y'all as always. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any more Vikings content. We're building something special in Minnesota, and this could be the next big piece. Skol, baby. And see what was said today on ESPN about the NFL market.
Yesterday was the start of NBA free agency, but the Pittsburgh Steelers stole the headlines across the sports landscape when they made one trade with a big trade with the Dolphins, acquiring 3-time All-Pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey and tight end Jonnu Smith for 3-time All-Pro safety Minkah Fitzpatrick and a swap of draft picks. And then just hours later, our Adam Schefter dropped this nugget. In recent weeks, multiple teams have been discussing whether they can trade for TJ Watt. You can just sign JJ, he's retired, who skipped the team's most recent minicamp. Watt is unhappy with his contract situation, and sources believe outside team interest is likely to increase given yesterday's trade. A lot of reaction pouring into this. Our own Dan Orlovsky summed it up best when he tweeted, "What is going on?" with no punctuation or anything. I don't know. I mean, Dan could be like in line at Disney, and like it's not moving, and we don't know. But let's assume that he was talking about everything the Steelers were up to yesterday, and Adam reporting that. We have Jeremy Fowler here. Jeremy, what is going on in Pittsburgh?
Dan, I'm trying to make sense of this right now. I actually just got off the phone, talked to some sources about this. And for the Steelers, this was a simple move. They feel like they have a never-ending quest to try to get a Super Bowl roster together, even if it's not perfect. Baltimore's getting better around them. The Cincinnati Bengals offense is getting better. So they figured Jalen Ramsey was a clear upgrade, that they have a guy who can play inside, traditional cornerback. He can play safety. But to them, this is not, the source I just talked to actually scoffed at the all-in notion. They said, we do this every year. This is just what we need to do to try to surround not only the team with the winner, but Aaron Rodgers. They feel like they have the best quarterback outlook they've had in 5 years. They have a capable option. They are trying to maximize it now. And as for the TJ Watt situation, I was told this is sort of the cost of doing business. These negotiations get tricky. They get sticky. They're hard to go through. The Steelers remain optimistic that they can try to reach a deal with Watt at some point. That would be the goal. Executives I've talked to with some other teams do not expect Watt to be traded. It is interesting. Teams are talking about this, what it would take to potentially acquire him, but there's not a lot of feeling or sense around the league I get that he's going to be moved.
Sure. I mean, as long as he's unsigned and seemingly unhappy, I'm sure there'll be plenty of conversations in front offices about, hey, do you guys think we could possibly do this? But as of now, it seems like he'll be in Pittsburgh and they'll probably get him signed. In terms of the trade that went down yesterday and the sort of overhaul of the secondary, bringing in the new tight end, EJ, what did you think about the Steelers' moves?
Well, Graz, I love the move, and I think you address a lot of areas to try to help your roster get better. And look, this is a maximization of 2025, at least at this point in the offseason. You bring in a Jalen Ramsey who can play safety, he can play nickel, he can play outside corner. You link in with guys like Darius Slay, who just won the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. You also got Joey Porter Jr., who's playing really well as a young corner. And you got to think about the receivers that they're going to have to cover in their division. You think about Jamar Chase, you think about T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Jerry Jeudy with Cleveland. So many vaunted receivers and receiving cores that you want to have a really good secondary with. And the addition of Jonnu Smith was fantastic. When you think about Aaron Rodgers, this point in his career, guys, if you play a lot of 12 personnel, which is one running back, two tight ends, two receivers, you're able to help protect Aaron Rodgers and keep him upright because you got two tight ends inside. But also, Jonnu Smith is a guy who can play tight end, but he's really a receiver. So you're almost getting 12 personnel, but 11 personnel principles with his type of speed and his ability. And look, I work out the same gym as Jonnu Smith. This guy's been working his tail off the entire offseason, so I was really happy to see him get rewarded, obviously with a new move now going to Pittsburgh. And I guarantee you, Arthur Smith is going to feature him in this offense. You think back when Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator with the Tennessee Titans, that's where Jonnu Smith had a lot of success earlier in his career as well. So it all makes a ton of sense for the Steelers, and I think it makes sense for the Dolphins too.
What do you think, D. Wood?
If this was 3 years ago, I would be much more excited, to be honest with you. Listen, if you look at the totality of all the moves that the Pittsburgh Steelers have made, quite honestly, they've gotten older at a lot of the critical positions that's required to win big-time football games. You got a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Darius Slay's like the second oldest cornerback in the National Football League. He's 30. He's in his mid-30s. Cam Hayward is 36. T.J. Watt is, very good player. He's 30. Jalen Ramsey's 30. All of these guys, big-name guys, but they're up there in age. And a 17-game slate, if you wanted to make a run, the number one thing that you got to deal with is health. Can these guys stay healthy enough to make a run for the Pittsburgh Steelers? I'm highly skeptical of that playing itself out.
And Jeremy, you mentioned like your Steelers people saying we do this every year. That graphic we just showed, I mean, that's a lot of turnover in one offseason for this organization. It feels different. Does it not feel different to you as somebody who covered them for a long time and is kind of used to how they do business?
Yeah, from the outside, Dan, it does look a little bit like a panic move. But when I talk to people and ask them about that, I was told like they try to treat it on a case-by-case basis. They feel like these are just simply upgrades and that these guys can hold up. Jalen Ramsey's 30 years old. Steelers feel like he has a lot of juice. He's not playing like an old player. Jonnu Smith was one of the best yards after catch players in the entire league last year. So they feel like he's going to get Aaron Rodgers easy yards. When they trade DK Metcalf and replace him with George Pickens, moving him to Dallas, they feel like that's better for the locker room too, not only from an ability standpoint. So they feel like they've gotten better, but it's not going to last. This is not a 2026 conversation. This is 2025, and it does feel very boom or bust for a team that never rebuilds and always tries to hang in there, but sort of stuck living in the middle right now in that 9 or 10 win range. They're trying to get over that hump.
Yeah. Boom or bust is interesting because the possibility includes bust. And EJ, I mean, like if we talk about like what could go wrong in Pittsburgh, like if it goes really badly, do you think, I mean, it could be even more changes there next offseason?
Well, that's always something that's on the table, guys. But I mean, ultimately, if you bring in a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, and I remember having